Hey, what's going on? It's Mike, and I'm here with another episode of Smart Simple Digital. So, something that I've been getting a lot of questions about recently is Bitcoin. So, in today's episode, I'm going to explain what Bitcoin is, where it comes from, how you get it, and a bunch of other points that you should consider if you are interested in getting started with Bitcoin. So, to put it really plainly, Bitcoin is money. However, it's just a digital form of money. It's totally paperless and it is used exclusively online to buy all sorts of goods and services. The most important thing about it, though, is that Bitcoin is not controlled by any central government or bank. And while it's been getting a lot of attention lately, and many people might think it just came from out of nowhere, Bitcoin has actually been around for quite some time now. It was created back in 2009 by someone under the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Hope I said that correctly, but I say someone because as far as we know today, that was just an alias that the creator of the Bitcoin software used. And not too long after that person introduced Bitcoin to the world, they fell out of existence. And there are a lot of interesting stories out there where people have tried to track down and find that person, or to actually get to the real identity of the person who created it. So that's pretty interesting. Another thing to know about Bitcoin is that the transactions happen from person to person without any involvement from a third party service or bank, right? So, for example, when we buy things online now, if you use a credit card to buy something online now, you have to use a third-party service like PayPal, or the credit card company is acting as that middleman to help process that transaction. That doesn't happen in the realm of Bitcoin. Instead, you have a network of people who work together to verify and to make sure that transactions are secure. And this happens through a process called Bitcoin mining. And the way that works, I'm going to try to put this as simple as possible, but the way that works is that you have a computer. Someone has a computer, it's connected to the internet. They install a special Bitcoin application. And I should mention that anybody who wants to get involved, anybody can do this, right? So they install the Bitcoin application on that computer. That computer is then able to communicate with all the other computers in the world that are also running that Bitcoin application. And so anytime Bitcoin transactions occur, those computers all go into action to verify those transactions. And that that software has all different types of protocols that make it possible for those, they help to verify and keep those transactions secure. One key aspect of the whole verification process with Bitcoin is that as those computers are working, they're actually working to solve these complex equations in the background. So every computer that's working to verify transactions, they're all working together to try to solve this complex equation. The first computer that is able to solve that equation, not only does that result in transactions being verified, but it also results in the creation, or they successfully mine or generate new Bitcoins that go into circulation. So with all that said, you might be wondering, well, how do you actually get Bitcoins to begin with? And so there are a couple of different ways that you can get Bitcoins. The first way is that you can convert your money into the Bitcoin equivalent. The way to do that is through a Bitcoin exchange. And there are quite a few exchanges that are out there. If you do a search online, you'll come back with a lot of different results. And so the way that works is you would create an account with that exchange, and then you can link a funding source, credit card, bank account. Some will even let you do cash. And then you just specify, the number of dollars or whatever your currency is. You specify how much of that you want to convert into Bitcoin. It runs that process, and then in the end, your new Bitcoins are placed into a digital wallet. Once you have that wallet, you can then start doing Bitcoin transactions online. The other way that you can get Bitcoins is by accepting payments for goods and services. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to explore this new form of payment, there are ways that you can sign up so that you can begin to accept Bitcoin as an alternative form of payment in your store online. Another way that you can get Bitcoin is by mining. So that process that I spoke about earlier, where you set up a computer to help verify the transactions. That's another way that you can get Bitcoins, but I'll talk a little bit about that in more detail later. So another question that often comes up is, well, all right, where can you actually spend Bitcoins, and what can what can you buy with them? So right now you can only use Bitcoins online, and you can buy all sorts of goods and services with them. While this is still new, while Bitcoin is still relatively new and people are still learning about it, there is a growing number of companies, large and small, who have started to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. What I'll do is I'll drop a link down in the description. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can see the companies that are out there now who are accepting it. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're an entrepreneur yourself, and you operate an online store, there are ways that you can begin to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. So another thing that started to happen lately is that people see the news and they're looking at how the value of Bitcoin is really just shot up recently. I think at the time of this recording, a single coin is worth about $19,000. So a lot of people see that and they're like, all right, how do I get in on this? And the fact about it is that you can make money from Bitcoins, but it's not as easy as you might think, and it comes with a whole set of different risks. So one way that some people would try to make money from Bitcoin, to invest in it, is they mine Bitcoins. They become a Bitcoin miner. So again, going back to that process earlier, about how you have a computer and it's helping to verify those transactions, and is reward for helping to verify. You might be a lucky person, one of the lucky few who gets rewarded with the Bitcoin. The thing about that is that it was much easier to mine Bitcoins way back in the early days when it all first came into existence. And the reason why is that the Bitcoin software it regulates itself, right? So just to contrast for a second, with the way that the dollar works. So we have the U.S. Treasury, and they determine how much money can be printed and circulated at any given time. Now, since there isn't one central government or bank that controls Bitcoin, the software that underlines the system does that regulation instead. And so there are rules around how many coins can actually be generated, or how many can actually be mined. And that number has it's become harder and harder to mine over the years because that number it's made to go down, right? And there are also rules that govern how many Bitcoins can ultimately be in existence ever. And I think that number is 21 million. But anyway, it's harder to mine now because of the code. And so you can't just have a regular computer and put the Bitcoin application on it and expect to start making money. It doesn't work like that. These days you have to invest into special equipment. There's special computers that are built just for mining, special hardware components, I'll say, that are built just for Bitcoin mining. But they require, they're not cheap. They are expensive, and they can put a huge drain on the energy resources in your house or wherever you're going to have that equipment set up. So it's not easy to generate Bitcoins these days. Or if you're thinking you're just going to get into the game, set up a mining shop and start generating thousands of dollars worth of coins, it's not as simple as you think, and it requires quite a bit of time and resource investment. Another way that people try to make money through Bitcoins is by trading them. So again, let's take the example of having if you've gone through an exchange and you've converted your money over into Bitcoin and it's now sitting in your Bitcoin wallet. As the overall price of Bitcoin fluctuates, so does the value of whatever amount of Bitcoin you have stored in your wallet. And so, kind of like stocks, as those prices go up, you have people who will try to sell their coins to make a profit. And that comes with a whole set of risk as well. And I think that for all these things, if you are looking to get into Bitcoin because you're just interested in making money from it, I highly suggest that you just do a lot of research on it just to learn all the ins and outs of the whole market. And just to follow up on that point, there are a lot of risks that are just associated with Bitcoin in general. As it continues to gain a lot of attention, and as people are just really eager to get involved with it, you're going to have people out there like scammers who are trying to take advantage of this opportunity. So you really have to be careful about what you do, where you invest your money, and again, just read up and learn as much about all things Bitcoin before you get started. Another thing to keep in mind is that Bitcoin doesn't have the same type of security that say the dollar does, or any national currency. And I say that because if you have your Bitcoin stored in a wallet, whether it's on an online wallet service, or if you have it, if you have a wallet that is downloaded on your computer, like if you lose that information, if somebody hacks that, or if somehow your wallet becomes corrupt or anything, you can't get that money back. And so you can't get those Bitcoins back. And so there was a case not too many years ago that I remember reading about where apparently this person was involved with Bitcoin back in the early days when it first got started, and then they must have been mining them or something. And so they had accumulated quite a bit of Bitcoins over the years. And I guess they just didn't think that it was ever going to really become a really viable thing. And so they ended up throwing their hard drive away. And I guess once they learned later that Bitcoins had shot up in price, like the value had just skyrocketed, they were trying to find that hard drive to find a way to cash those Bitcoins in, but it was too late. So again, there's no security. So if anything happens, if your wallet gets hacked or destroyed, there's no way to get that money back. Another thing to keep in mind is that transactions are one way. So when you pay for a good or service online with Bitcoins, or if you just have to transfer Bitcoins to someone for any reason, you have to really be confident in that person in that store or whoever that other party is on the other side that you're transferring that money to, because once you send that money, you can't get it back. You cannot. There is no, I guess, official way that you can do like a refund. The only way that can happen is that other party has to accept their fault and initiate a transaction back your way. So that's just something else to be aware of. But again, you got to do your research. Definitely, if you're interested in getting started with Bitcoin, just read up on it as much as you can for sure, to learn about it, learn about all the risk and just everything that you can do with it and you can't do. So I think that's it. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. If you found this information helpful, please make sure that you like this video and share it as well. If this is your first time watching one of my tech videos, I have a bunch more. A lot of other videos where I'm giving all sorts of tech tips. So if you're on Facebook, look at my page, Smart Simple Digital, or you can go over to my website, smartsimpledigital.com. Have a whole bunch of other videos and articles there as well. As always, I thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.